Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another finely crafted, wood-hewn, natural, vanilla-smelling show. My name is Kelly Wright.
And I'm James Ernest, and we're here all week on No Prep Monday. Here all week celebrates the fifth Monday of every month by doing zero show prep. This time we're lucky to have special guests to help us fill in the dull moments. Welcome, Rob Reinhart.
Thank you. Great. So I was supposed to be the one to prepare? That's
Yes.
No, there's
Yeah.
no preparation necessary. It's 30 minutes of getting to know you, followed by
All you
45
gotta
minutes
do
of
all you got to do is just
silence.
show up, and then we just do whatever happens. No, folks, Rob Reinhart is a very special person in my life. He was one of the very first people I had worked with when I had started my career in radio. I originally started off in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Worked with a really horribly person host. Just awful. It was awful.
And that's me.
And here
And
he
that's
is
Rob.
today.
And
Thank
here
you,
he
ladies
is.
and
Love him
gentlemen.
dearly. Nope. So I went from Grand Rapids, Michigan to
You
Ann
were
Arbor.
the flames of my trial.
I started working with Rob, it was 93 or 94, maybe around there, maybe earlier than that.
Earlier than
But,
that. Yeah.
But we worked at a tiny little radio station in Saline, Michigan, which broadcast to the finer areas of the Ann Arbor metropolitan area. WIQB was it, and frankly, no show prep Mondays here is very much like how we used to do the show.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, in fact. Yeah, it was pretty much no show prep. Yeah.
There was really no show prep. Early in the morning, stumbling in, horrible coffee. Just to give you an idea, folks, just the visual of this studio. It looked like it was a refurbished home. Like it originally was a home, and they busted out walls. And there were two stations there in the building. There was an AM station, and then there was an FM station, and we all shared the same building. Same company owner, kind of the same group of people jumping back and forth, doing different shows at different times of day. But yeah, it was a rock station. What we did in the morning, stumbling in, 5 a.m., 5:30, bare minimum, as far as just to get there, even before the sun was up. As my great uncle would say, that's halfway into yesterday that you're starting to work.
It must be difficult jumping back and forth to AM, especially knowing when to go quiet when your listeners are driving under a bridge.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you for joining us. This is a great honor. I haven't
Pleasure.
seen or spoken with you in such a long time.
A very long time.
You've been busy.
Yeah, I guess we should point out that I'm no longer at that radio station.
Correct.
Which is, that's
Correct.
very important.
Yes, things change, things
nor
move
are
out.
you.
You're currently with WDET doing that with in Detroit?
I do a couple of things. I am at WDET, and that is Detroit Public Radio. And one of those unique radio stations, it's a public radio station, but it's at 101.9 FM. So it is actually not on the far left end of the dial. It's
Yeah.
right in the middle, which is really great. That's terrific. It's a very powerful dial position and radio station. So we really cover all of Southeast Michigan and then into Ontario, Canada, down into Ohio, and pretty far west, really until like Kalamazoo, Michigan. So it really is, it's a great reach. And I am part-time there, and then I have a syndicated radio program called Acoustic Cafe. So that is really what I spend most of my week doing.
So you spend most of your week listening to really super good music and talking with really super talented people.
And some super bad music. So
Okay, great, good.
I do all of it. Yeah. But yes, I listen to a lot of music. That's basically my job currently.
After IQB, I know Acoustic Cafe started at WIQB, and the difficulty you had in getting that show launched, just because the old rock guys just digging and going, it's not for our audience, it's not what they want. I mean, this is one where Freebird and Blue Oyster Cult was the
Right.
the
Yeah, we should
bread
point
and
out that
butter.
the station that we were working at was a bad rock station. It wasn't even a good rock station. Like this was what was it? It was like Styx, REO Speedwagon, and that in the midst of the whole Seattle thing happening. So like the Seattle thing's happening, and we're playing Styx and REO Speedwagon, and the Rolling Stones, Beatles, Who, and Loverboy. So
there was
that.
enough stations in the area that played that, and yet here we were doing that, and the discussions with the program director of, can we just start polishing up this playlist? And oh no, Joe dug his heels in. He's like, nope.
Everybody else plays top 40. We play middle 40. The 40
we play
in
the middle
of
40.
The
we're playing the 40 on the way down. That's the 40 that we're playing. Is the ones that are on the way out.
Top 40 that you've heard too much now. It's the time to say goodbye.
Yeah, I seem to remember the big line in the sand was Indigo Girls.
Yeah.
And I remember that specifically. It must have been about 1992, 91, 92. And I went to this Indigo Girls show at Hill Auditorium here in Ann Arbor. So that's a 3,000-seat auditorium, completely packed. People are on their feet singing every single word. And I went in the next day and I said, geez, these folks have never really had any radio airplay to speak of. And there were 3,000 people last night who were really into this. Like, we should probably be playing this. That didn't get a lot of uptake. So that's okay. That's all right.
They're girls and they play music?
Yeah, well, they just didn't kind of get that. But I did convince them. I convinced them to do a show on Sundays, which they insisted on because, the Unplugged thing was happening on MTV. So they said, well, we'll call it MTV, we'll call it Sunday Morning Unplugged. So it was like, all right, fine, if that's the best I can do. But that was my way to get those kind of artists on the air at a rock station in 1992 or 93 was, we branded it as Unplugged, but that gave me the opportunity to then play, Sean Colvin and John Gorka and like all these people who were getting major label deals, David Wilcox, folks like that, that the labels were putting out, but they didn't really know where to put them at that point. There wasn't really a AAA format, which is what it became a couple of years later. But that was kind of the start of Acoustic Cafe a couple of years later.
Excellent. Where is Acoustic Cafe based? Are you doing this out of your home, or do you have an actual recording space?
So for the in-studio guests that we do on Acoustic Cafe, before the pandemic, there was a studio space that I used to have in town, and then I closed that up and just started operating out of a studio here in Ann Arbor called Big Sky Recording. And it's really just been wonderful. I've been there since, almost 20 years, just working there with bands when we have them in town. So that's always been great. And now we're doing, when we can, live recordings with an audience. We have a kind of a live space that we do, about 100 people. And it's basically the same thing. It's an interview and small acoustic performance, but we have an audience to do it with. So
when the pandemic started, that had to have put a crimp where you're like, what am I going to do?
Ruined everything.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I don't mean to be selfish. No, it was just. It was just one of those.
I think it ruined everything for everyone, Rob. It's
for
not
everyone.
Just you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I thought it was just me, and then I realized.
Well, the thing is that everyone is having more trouble listening to your show, and you see how that could apply to everyone.
Yeah, it was. You know what? I thought it was going to last 60 days.
We all did.
I guess we all did, right?
I was promised. The President of the United States said it would go away with the warm weather.
With the war, I forgot about that.
With the warm weather.
Man.
Yeah, the warm weather.
There's a lot to forget, isn't there?
This is going to be gone by the time it gets warm. We're good.
It's like the flu. It blows away. Forget about it.
Yeah. 60 days. That's what I thought it was going to be, and then after 90 days, I realized that, we were going to need to do some real retooling. And, the sad part is that I had really gotten to the point. I mean, that show is now in its 28th year, as we are speaking now. Yeah.
Come on. 1991 was only 20 years ago. Come on.
Yeah, well, you keep telling yourself that, Kellen. I think everything's going to be great for you. I think it's working out well.
My willful suspension of disbelief is strong. So
go for it. That's why. Just
Thank
stay
you.
on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I had gotten to the point where, it was fun. This was a show, it was one of, kind of a handful of shows in the country that, people would make a stop if they were on tour, or we would become part of the promotional plans of, whatever label was putting out a record. Or I would get on a plane and go fly somewhere, and we'd go do an interview on their, on their turf, at their studio or their home space or whatever. And so that was all great fun.
Okay, the logistics of that can be fairly difficult. Was it just you with a higher end mic and a recorder setting up, or did you have people to help you?
It was me with a folder and a pen.
Okay.
You gotta get. I'm not one of these guys going around with the headphones and the microphone. Let me talk to you.
Well, I mean, if you're flying to, I don't know if you're flying to go
I'm not that
interview
guy.
someone. Okay.
No.
All right.
You gotta. Yeah. No, you got to have a studio space.
Okay.
I mean, just so we're going to be.
I don't know if you're like
doing a
live
professional
from the
recording.
scene in the blizzard with this performer.
No.
That's how Kelly and I do it. We go out there with nothing but a pen. That's it. We talk into the pen. We draw pictures of what we did with the pen.
We do the diagram of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's that's and that really is all dried up. I mean, I haven't traveled since January 2020.
Yeah.
And so this is what we end up doing. So we're doing Zoom interviews, and then people do their performances.
Got it.
As they can in their own time and space, which is not great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much nicer to be in a studio setting and you're in there with them. And so it's a much more controlled atmosphere, and I get to listen to what they're doing. They get to say to me, so should we do that again? And I can say, well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And instead, what I'm getting is like, here are 4 songs that I just did, and whatever. And then we do an interview like this, on Zoom.
Yeah, I guess you got to roll with it. So
yeah, it's the only way to keep it going. So.
What's the spread of Acoustic Cafe? Where is it now in the world?
We have 120 radio stations around the country that carry us, and that's all, of course, on our website at acafe.com. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the show streams there as well. And we have an archive there of the interviews and acoustic performances. So, yeah, that's where it is. That's where it can be found. That's where it is found.
Excellent. I will put.
But it's still an independent production, and it has been an independent production for the whole time. So it's never really been based at any radio station. Mm-hmm. So even though I do a thing at WDET, it's a very different thing. It really doesn't have anything to do with Acoustic Cafe. So we're not a part of PRX or NPR or any of that. It's just a thoroughly independent production.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. For doing this show, is this the drive that gets you up now every morning for this thing? Is this what when
doing
you wake
your
up in the
show
morning?
Tonight?
This this show plus Acoustic
This is why
Cafe.
I'm on today.
We
That's
have
why
more
you're
than
here.
20 listeners worldwide.
We do.
So
Listen, I
while
don't
they
know
aren't
what I'm
radio
gonna do.
stations, they are real people.
I have no idea what I'm going to do tomorrow to get up. No,
Okay, fair
unless
enough.
you want to do part 2, we can do that
Fair
tomorrow
enough.
night.
I was going to say, I'm very pleased that we just hit our 3,500 downloads. So we're doing okay.
Oh,
I mean,
fantastic.
we're getting our reach out there for this.
Oh, that's
this-
adorable.
This I know. This
It's a good.
So cute.
We don't do it for the likes.
look at you, you little podcast. You keep going. Keep
Did I
doing
ever-
it.
Did I ever tell you how I learned that tone of voice? I was at a convention. I was at a hotel where there was both a fencing convention and a rifle, like a gun show, right? And someone was loading a long bag into the back of the airport shuttle. The shuttle driver said, "What do you do?" I didn't hear the answer, but then she said, "Oh, that's great." So it was fencing. Because if he'd said, "That's a sack full of rifles," she would have not said, "Oh, that's great."
Outside of music and radio, I know you have a couple of kids. Are you still an owner of golden retrievers? That was the big thing with you.
Oh, yeah. No, not anymore.
Okay.
Our last passed a while ago, but we do have a. I'm looking around to see if she's around. I could bring her, but
What do you got, an Oompa Loompa over there? What is
Don't
that?
talk about Susan like that. Don't do that.
No, her name is Gracie, and she's here somewhere. But she really doesn't like to be bothered after 8:30 in the evening. She likes to pretty much go
Fair
down
enough.
and stay down.
Aren't we all the same? Yeah.
Yeah. She's
just
adorable.
to introduce you to James here, since this is your first time interacting with James. James is also a performer, an entertainer, a writer, a gamesmith. Had his own gaming company called Cheap Ass Games, board game designer, and sold it off. And now he's just kind of going wherever the roads take him.
Whoa.
The roads don't take me anywhere. Although I'll be honest, I was way ahead of the pandemic because I think I quit performing about 20 years ago. But I just in anticipation of not being able to travel anymore. That's right. I think the world just had to catch up with me.
Yep. So James right now is working on, how many games are you working on? 6?
100.
100 games.
This weekend I became obsessed with a solitaire game, the dumbest game in the world. But anyway, yes. Generally speaking, I invent games and I shine them out into the darkness, and 2 or 3 people pick them up, and that's kind of my thing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That sounds like fun. Now, I got to confess, I'm the worst game player ever. I'm terrible at this.
So you're always throwing the pieces around, breaking the table, and like punching other people in the mouth. Like, how bad is it really?
Screw you, Grandma. You win.
Let's break
Flips
this down.
the table. Yeah.
Well, what kind of games are we talking about?
We're talking about tabletop games. I've been making board games since
I'm
around
better
about the
at
same
board
time
games.
you
Okay,
started
all right.
your radio show. Actually,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm better at board games.
Well, let me get your definition of board games, because
Okay.
board games in the U.S. are the common ones: Monopoly, Candyland, things like that. Those are pretty traditional. James does kind of not so traditional games like. I mean, they're still games, but
I really wouldn't draw that line that broadly. I mean, they're games you play on a table. They're
All
just
right.
not as famous. They're
All
not
right.
like adult or anything. They're not like they're not about super secret things.
Well, I guess I'm thinking more of like the European style games where you go, as far as the German games and things like that. So they're more role playing games. James is not necessarily role playing. I don't even know you, James. Why the hell am I doing this show with you?
You've done a fine thing.
You're
Kelly.
welcome.
You've
James does
confused
games.
Even
Rob,
me.
do you know what games are? Good for you. Discuss.
So the specific game that I'm working on right now, for example, I have a 5-suited deck of cards. So instead of 4 suits, it has 5 suits. It has 11 cards in each suit, and it's from a fantasy world. And I'm trying to sort of create a whole bunch of new games you play with this. And my technique for doing this is to create an ancestor game that can be terrible, and then evolve that into sort of more modern versions that use some of the same things. Poker, for instance, is evolved from ancestors that are way worse than poker. But it still has a lot of the same sort of DNA as those terrible games. So I wrote this terrible solitaire gambling game over the weekend, and now I'm playing obsessively, trying to figure out everything I can about the odds. And as tedious as it is, I still sort of can't stop playing it. that's the definition of my job.
So this is, and that's a solitaire game. So I mean, you're able to just play it
Well,
yourself.
it's a gambling game. It's related to solitaire. So Klondike Solitaire, where you try to play all the suits up into stacks.
Okay.
It's like that. But before the game starts, people can bet on which suit is going to finish first, and it takes several passes through the deck to play everything up, which is why I say it's tedious, because we're just watching it happen. And okay, maybe 300 years ago, this was all they had to do, so they were patient and waited 10 minutes for the resolution of one bet. But of course, if you tried to play that with any modern gaming group, they would be like, when will this end? It's kind of like Candyland. Do you know Candyland?
yeah, I
Yes,
do know
right?
Candyland. Yes,
It's a game with a fairly convoluted process that gets you to a single random outcome in under 30 minutes. And it's for grown-ups, it's horrible. Kids love it because it's just fun to watch what happens. But grown-ups are like, I have no control. What's happening to me? Please let me escape this game. I know I can't win, but I'm still here. How am I still here?
When you have to
So-
test out a new game, so you've created a game and you need to play it with other people.
Oh, they're the worst.
Well, I was just going to say, how do you do that? This is your baby, and now you have to explain, no, you
The
don't get
the
this. You're
pandemic
doing
has
it
been
wrong.
super hard. The pandemic's been super hard for this. But pre-pandemic, I had a weekly game night. So people who are used to playing games, people who are used to testing games, it's really not fun until it's done. And so we're all suffering through terrible games week after week and day after day. And then we finally get to something. Was that fun? Oh yeah, that was fun. Then we know we can stop and start something else. And I would travel to conventions and meet new people. And, once in a while I would have an open play test where people could actually download the thing and send me feedback. But that's such a slow process. It doesn't usually produce very much. But now, this is why I'm working on essentially a solitaire game right now, because I don't have another gaming group. I'm in Las Vegas right now. All my local gaming groups are shut down because of Omicron, and my home group meets once in a while, but not very often. So yeah, it's quite hard. It's game design probably requires the earliest feedback of any discipline. You can't really know how people are going to play your game until you see them play it. And so it's not like a book or a song or something you could sort of finish and then put it in front of someone and say, do you like this? It starts a lot earlier than that.
Are there situations though where, it makes perfect sense in your mind? You've created this and it makes total sense to you, and nobody at the table can get it. Like everybody's
just exactly. That's why you start testing really
yeah.
early, because if you get something fully formed and precious and then you put it in front of people, it's going to fail, and you'll be like, but I worked on this so hard, I don't know what to change because it's, in my mind, it's done and you guys aren't getting it. It's your fault, and you get into that sort of thing. It's like you can just imagine like Joni Mitchell gets on stage and starts playing and the audience is not into it, and she's like, I like this song. It's your fault for not liking it. Maybe it's just not your kind of song. What?
Yeah, that happened actually between 78 and 83 for her. So
I heard her monologuing, and I have her on Pandora right now, and she's like, they never made Picasso paint the same damn picture for 7 years. Here I am singing this thing again. It's true.
So what are you doing, Kel? Tell me how you progressed over the decades.
Oh
that
my
I haven't
gosh!
Seen you.
Oh
and by
my
the way,
gosh!
you still have family in Detroit, is that right?
Oh yeah, all my family is back there.
So you come back and forth to visit all the time?
No, I don't. I would love to come back
because I was about to go into a whole thing about, and you never call, you never write.
You don't call me, you don't write, you don't.
Not yeah.
No, the last time I was there, it was we flew in and immediately went to the property up in the Thumb area that my mom just bought. So, and that was August of last year. So that was the whole point, was to go and help them, do the stuff around there and then, fly back out.
For those who are
those who
listening and don't understand,
I'm sorry, the
Thumb
Thumb
area.
Part
okay.
of the state. Yeah.
The other thing, the Thumb area. Well, the thing, first of all, just to explain.
Visuals, do visuals.
I know. Visual. Just, watch us on YouTube after you pay the Patreon fee of $10 a month. But the thing is, when I first moved here, yes, James.
A, Patreon is cheaper than that. B, if YouTube is free, it's just delayed. Don't let her scare you like that, folks. Everything we do is free.
Scaring. No, one of the things that was pointed out to me when I first moved to the Seattle area was people would ask, where are you from? And I'd hold up my right hand, so it looks like a mitten, and I would point on my hand. I'd be like, I grew up right here. And finally someone goes, what the hell is with the hand thing? So,
New Yorkers do the same thing, but they hold their hand in a different configuration.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Hey, where are you from?
I live right here.
Oh, yeah?
So what have I been doing? I came out here to work in radio as well. Got a gig at KMTT, did morning show production, and hosted a very similar show to Acoustic Cafe, but it was at that radio station. It was not a syndicated show. It was called Sunday Brunch. So I did that for quite a while.
Sunday Brunch Unplugged, is that correct?
No, just Sunday Brunch. Just Sunday Brunch.
MTV's unaffiliated MTV's Sunday Brunch Unplugged.
Yeah, there's a lot of those names for the morning shows, like Sunday Morning Over Easy. Oh. Cup of coffee, jazz Sundays.
Let's do Sunday Morning Over Quickly. That sounds
good.
Is
it really? Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Sunday Morning Over Easy. So after radio, I pursued voiceover work and got an agent, did a great demo, had some really good clients. Biggest client was Microsoft. Did a voice for when they had their Actimate toys out. So I was the voice of Lala Teletubby and the doll. That's my contribution to pop culture. In the meantime, voiceover work is the minute you're done with your job, you're unemployed and you have to start looking for other work. So I worked at a vet clinic as a vet tech to supplement income. Then I thought, this scrambling stuff is pretty hard. I'd like to get some health insurance and a little bit more money. So I left the tech thing and went to Vivendi Games and became a receptionist. Now, Vivendi Games is an extremely large video game and home software game producer. Started part-time there, worked the afternoon so I could have my mornings to do auditions. And but then an opportunity opened up in the legal department to support the general counsel. And I this is a great opportunity. And so I worked for Vivendi from 2002 until they laid everybody off in 2007, and then went on to more independent studios after that. But I worked in video games for 12 years, but all along still doing voiceover work, singing in bands, pursuing or at least keeping the love of live performance and voiceover work in my sphere. And then I had a chance to go to Amazon Games, and I took that. And Amazon, while people are fists up, it's like right now it's a great opportunity for me to go from games to the Alexa division is what I'm doing. So I'm working with world-class AI scientists right now. So it's been a hell of a learning curve for me to understand what their language, what they're talking about, and for me to be able to support the 3 directors who are part of this. But in the meantime, built a little studio in the house. I am now doing audiobooks, so I do that as well. I do my own editing. It's my own little studio. I like to tell people that if I can't sleep, I'm reading myself books at 1:30 in the morning.
Yikes.
In my little studio. But it's good. That's what I've been doing.
Somewhere along that chain of events, while I was also in the video game business seeking out that almighty dollar, Kelly and I shared her office, basically.
Mostly, for the most time. I was,
waste our employer's time having
exactly.
conversations just like this, but for no one.
But for no one. Just cracking ourselves up. Yeah. So we, like I said in the email when I sent you guys, James and I perfected our art of wage theft. Well, we just didn't do any work and just sat and cracked ourselves up. And at that time, we even talked about doing a podcast, but it never came to until this whole thing shut down. The whole country was like, we're done. And James reached out and was like, still want to do that podcast? I'm like, yep.
There's no better time. I mean, we are stuck at home.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the opportunity to just be goofy. I mean,
we made a fake ad with a laugh track last week. That's going to happen
Very
again.
nice. Very nice.
Yes. So I'm reluctant to send Rob our ads because he used to do that. He and his team wrote comedy ads professionally and sold them to stations and things like that.
Yeah, right. That was another thing. Yeah, I forgot about that. There was the comedy years from I think about 89 or 90 to 2002 or 4, and then I got out of it. I believe my ex-partner is. I think he might still be doing it. I don't know. But yeah, we would create comedy parody ads, radio parody, and we had a syndicator first in Seattle and then Los Angeles, and Premiere, and they would we would send the material to them, then they would kind of press it to CDs and then send it out to 2,000 radio stations around the country, and morning shows would use it. It was just comedy. Parody ads.
That's the one thing that always cracked me up when you first told me that. I'm like, so you're the ads on those wacky morning shows. Good morning.
Yep.
Yeah. So those kind of shows. Yeah.
I'll tell you though, commercial parody became very hard to do at a certain point. As I say, we were doing it really throughout the 90s, and then towards the end of the 90s, ad agencies really would just license music. Well, the Pink Moon, the Pink Moon Volkswagen ad that's the perfect example. There was no copy. There wasn't anything to make a parody of. It was just a song. It was a beautiful song that they licensed, and there's pictures of the car, and there was no parody. There was nothing to say. There was nothing to do. It was like, what do we do about this? I don't know. Well, I guess we're just going to have to not do that. So,
I guess we're done. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, everyone.
It just became harder and harder. And then ads got shorter and shorter. So, like,
Right.
60s became 30s, became 15s and 10s. And it just, there was barely any copy in the original ad, let alone something to make fun of. So
Yeah.
that
Well,
became
the
harder to do.
the beautiful thing about doing the ads here is that we don't put a time limit on it. No, of
course not.
They run 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, they're two. I do put a page limit. I actually try to keep it. Well, I always keep it on 2 pages, but who knows how long that'll take us to say.
Yeah, but no, it's one of the things that I always enjoy. It's like James is a brilliant writer, and so I don't want to read it before I actually do it, because the video footage on our YouTube page is just the raw footage of us cracking each other up through this whole thing to show the behind the scenes. The streaming podcast, it's all tightened up with sound effects and music and things like that. But what I love doing it is capturing that in the moment of where I say something and it hits me of how stupid it is, and we just crack each other up. I just really like it. It's just it's how I like to do a show. But so you're not doing the parody anymore, so you're done with that. You wait a minute. NPR DET doesn't allow you to do that? Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there isn't really. It doesn't pay. It doesn't pay.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were doing it, it was great fun, and we couldn't believe it. Wow, oh my God, we're getting paid to do this. It was a writer's room. So there were 3 of us, and we would come in on Monday, and we would just start talking until somebody came up with something and went, "Oh, I think there's something in that. Let's focus on it and see if we can write a bit." And we had.
But it's at the point when your customers realize, "Oh my God, they're getting paid for this," that the business starts going down.
Then there was.
I went through that myself. I was a professional juggler for years, and then I realized that because I had to say the word professional every time I said juggler, that there was no future in it.
Right.
And people realized that they were still paying me to do that, and then they just stopped.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The comedy part was weird, too, because we also had a regular ad agency that was doing straight advertising for people. So we had both things going on at the same time. And, it was a lot of fun. And there was money to be made and all that stuff. The DET thing has kind of reconnected me with live radio, which is something I really hadn't done for about 15 years. I was off the air for 15 years. I mean, I did Acoustic Cafe, but that was a syndicated.
That's controlled. That's
well,
controlled.
it was a prepackaged show. I mean,
Right,
everybody has to be
exactly.
getting the same show.
Exactly.
That's the nature of it. But I had not been on the air, and they called me, and they said, well, first of all, we want to take Acoustic Cafe. And I said, oh, that's terrific. Great. And then they said, would you be interested in doing a live show? Or they said a different show. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, sure. And I said, well, what do you want? And they said, it can be anything you want. It's public radio. It's Detroit Public Radio. Do whatever you want. I said, well,
All right, once a week we're going to have someone come in to describe a different part of an elephant.
That was the one thing I didn't suggest to them, and that might have turned them off the whole thing. Because I kept at it.
All right, we need to talk about what we mean when we say you can do anything.
Well, that was the thing. I said, look, I've been doing this a really long time. You tell me what you want. I'll tell you if I can do it.
Right.
And they said, no, you're not understanding. We know that you know this audience and whatever, and you'll be fine. Whatever it is you want to do. And I said, okay, I'm going to take your word. So I started doing a weekend show, which was great fun. And but I was terrified when I had to go in and do this live.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. It's like you
was
had
terrifying.
not done it in 15 years, so
15
there
years.
had to in butterflies and be like, what if I screw
Oh,
up?
butterflies! That's
a good word.
Polite, nice.
It's a polite
way to
word.
describe it. It gets you thinking of colorful things going like this. No, it was blind panic and terror. It
More
was
like
awful.
a Sharknado in your stomach.
Exactly.
Wow. But it
No,
worked
it was
out
awful.
okay.
It did after that first time or two, and so that was kind of a weekend thing, and then I really got into fundraising. I really got into going on the air, and I know people just hate fundraisers. I love them. I love them. I love to do them, and I'll tell you why.
For a $25 donation, you'll not only get this beautiful tote bag.
See, okay, so that's why
wonderful.
people
It
hate
never crosses my mind that the people doing those jobs like doing it. It's like,
No,
of course,
most
if you
don't.
like shoes,
No.
you sell
Most
shoes.
most
if
of the
you
people
like
hate doing it too.
fundraisers, you do that thing.
No.
They hate fundraising, and you can usually tell
it shows.
when you
It
listen.
really shows. I think that's it. I wish I was doing my regular job right now.
Exactly. My approach, though, has always been that I see fundraisers, public radio fundraisers, as the 2 times or sometimes 3 times a year.
Every month.
Every month, perhaps, where you have to go on the air and you have to make a case to the audience as to why those people should send you money. You have to. You're not asking. The problem is too many people go out and they beg for money. They're going out asking you to send money. I don't see it that way. I'm like, here's the reason why you should support us, because we've done this, we've done this, we've done this, and that's just in the last 6 months. So it's like I get very passionate about it because I really do believe like this is our one time to make the case for your support. And anyway, I really love that. So then, because I was so interested in it when everybody hated it, so they thought, well, we can put this guy on a lot. So they started putting me on more and more to do more and more pitching. And suddenly, like I'm on I'm a weekender, but I'm on like every morning drive shift, doing fundraising.
Doing the pitch, yeah.
Because that was it, because I was sort of pitching with that kind of fervor. And then I've sort of expanded into other roles at the station, helping them out promotionally and consulting here and there and talking to them about whatever, promotions and music and what have you. And then there's another show, which is on Monday through Friday from noon to 2. It's called Culture Shift. It's just really kind of a cultural magazine, some talk, some music. And I come in on Wednesdays, and I have 2 co-hosts who host the program the rest of the week. Mm-hmm. And they are much younger than I, which is an awesome, great mix. It's really fun.
Good, good.
Really
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear for you not going the get off my lawn kind
Oh,
of.
God, no. Oh, that would be such a disaster. That would be so awful.
These kids and their TikTok and their Wordle and their computers and their machines, self-driving cars.
Yeah.
Is this machine? How does the machine
What is this
on?
thing?
Is this
You're
the-
gonna...
Oh, my
You've
God.
told me this before. I'm sorry. Is this the part I talk into?
Yeah. You know what? Actually, part of that dynamic is for me to be the butt of their jokes. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
that's the point.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's kind of the point, though. I mean, because we actually have a much younger audience at WDET than most public radio stations. Like, our average listener is like 45, which is terrific.
Wow,
That's
that's
fantastic.
That's amazing.
We have, we have a massive public radio station. It's called Michigan Radio. It's based out of University of Michigan. The average age of that audience is like 68.
I was going to say, isn't it the waiting room of
Yeah,
Farrell's funeral home, something like
God's
that?
waiting room. Sure, yeah. Right.
Oh, wow. Do you get to count the age of the dead people as part of your listeners? That'll really bring that number up.
Yeah. So it's great for me to go in there and they make fun of me, and that's terrific because and they're really fun. They're funny people. Like they're pretty bright, sharp, young people.
Well, excellent.
And
I am
think
glad to
it's-
hear
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
There is
so
hope for the
that's great
future.
fun.
Thanks for the good-natured
There is.
ribbing, Junior. It's all part of the format here, and I'm happy to participate.
I love it.
Where do you see Acoustic Cafe going? To continuing the way it is? Are you grooming someone as a mentor, handing it off to them?
Well, I wanted to talk to both of you and see if you had any interest in investing in a.
I've got I got a microphone kit I can travel around with.
You know what?
There you go.
I
And a
got
pen. You
and
got
a
a pen.
clipboard.
Yeah, I think
I
you'd be
don't
all
know
set.
anything about music though, so I guess
That's all
this is,
right.
I can
That's
learn on the
okay.
job.
Yeah. It's
Well,
real
if
simple.
you
People
want
play instruments.
what are Kelly and James listening to this week, we're more than happy to provide a segment to you if you want to do that. I'm sure
to
your
answer
listeners.
your question, but to answer your
find
question,
it.
I am not currently grooming anyone. Not that I would be opposed to that,
Yeah.
although it's a business.
Yeah.
So it isn't so much about grooming somebody to take over the broadcasting legend that is Acoustic Cafe. That's not really it. It's really, does somebody really want to work all the time?
Yeah.
And nobody does.
You need a child. You run a contest like the
got
golden
2.
tickets. Like Willy Wonka. You run a sweepstakes.
Oh, yeah,
and then,
right.
And you bring in 5 kids and you kill 4 of them. I mean, they're fine, really. But you kill 4 of them and you scare the last one into doing it exactly the way you say. That's how you pass along the torch.
I love it.
James, you bring up a very brilliant idea for almost any business that needs.
I tried it myself.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did, yeah. We'd golden tickets. Nobody bought the candy. And it all went into the landfill. That's too bad.
I'm so sorry.
It's all about marketing. They tell me that now, anyway.
Yeah.
So, just a quick couple of things I want to ask before we wrap the show up.
Sure.
It's very basic stuff, kind of like biggest star you had on the show, most well known. God damn it!
From what era, genre?
Doesn't matter.
Your
Doesn't matter.
personal best.
Your
Willie
personal
Nelson.
best.
Yeah.
Oh, you had Willie Nelson. Fantastic. How stoned did you get?
Oh, well, yeah, actually, I didn't, but he was, and it was awesome.
Excellent.
It was pretty fun.
I love
but saying he was high, who cares? Like,
No,
of course
no.
he was. It was
Of
Willie
course
Nelson.
he was.
It
Of
would
course he
really be
was.
news if he wasn't. So yeah, sure.
I mean, of course he was going to be stoned. I just didn't know if it was like the big cloud of smoke in the studio. Or
Well,
whatever.
so you say that, and that's what I was going to say. So we went to the bus to pick him up. At that particular time, I was using a studio where they couldn't get a bus up the driveway, so the bus had to park about a half mile away.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent a couple of cars down to pick up him.
I pictured you going to a Greyhound station to pick him up.
No,
which
no,
is
no, no.
Far better
The
than
tour
his
bus.
bus was
Tour
too
bus,
big
tour bus.
for our driveway.
So it was Willie, it was his sister Bobby, and Mickey Raphael, the guy who's played harmonica for him for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to the bus, and the door opens up, and it was just like what you described. Door opens up, cloud of smoke.
Wow.
And, this is before the days of legalization. So it was pretty funny. And, he was just like, "Hi, I'm Willie."
Of course you are.
Willie,
of course
you're
you are.
high. And it was awesome. And he came and, but he was lovely, lovely gentleman. So I guess that would probably be
Biggest? Well, the biggest.
Well, just
yeah.
the one that would be known by everybody.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't
What's
know.
the
Norah Jones?
get? What's the get you can't get? What's the get you really want, and it just is not happening? I know, tough question on the spot.
Yeah, I mean,
Because we can make that happen. Now you got to connect right here. Whoever you need, we'll bring them on.
yeah,
gotta-
As long as it's Molly Lewis.
I'm trying to decide if I should answer this honestly. Molly Lewis.
Okay, moving on. We'll move on. Thank you.
No, I can answer. Wait a minute. No, I can give you an answer. I'll give you an answer. You know what? Elton John is somebody that I now know will never be on this show.
Okay, all right. Yes, that's
Bernie Taupin did the show long ago.
Wow.
He had his own band and whatever. And it was great to talk to this guy. who's written all
Wasn't
these
that the
songs.
name of his band? Wasn't it Bernie Taupin whatever?
Yeah, Bernie Taupin, whatever. Bernie Taupin and the whatevers.
whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
but Elton is not. That's just never going to happen. And it almost did a couple of times, but yeah, at this point we're sort of beyond. We're over the ridge.
Okay,
That's not gonna
got it. Are you comfortable to talk about most difficult performer?
happen. Can I do it without giving you the name?
Correct. You don't have to
way-
name.
Because I'm going to tell you.
You
I will
don't
tell
have
you
to
this
name
story.
anybody. I mean, you don't.
All
really
right,
have
so
to, but
there's this unnamed artist. I'm not going to
Yeah.
tell you who it was, but we had to
I
go to
won't.
his bus, and it was just full of smoke.
Nope. He was a charm. I will say this.
most
All I'm gonna
difficult
say is
rhymes
this.
with Blamayam Larry.
How do I say this? So, because this just happened.
Okay, all right. Fresh out of the oven, folks.
28 years, I've been doing this show. 28 years. I have never had anybody do what this guy did to me about a month ago. month and a half ago.
I'm going to interrupt you and say that I'm imagining that you're talking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And so
I am not.
If you want, you can use that name, knowing full well that it's a stand-in.
It is a name that everybody would know.
Okay.
And somebody who is not well known for his soft and fuzzy character. Like people know him to be a difficult guy.
Got it.
So here's what happened. I went on to do a Zoom interview. And these days, what I do, if you want this little secret that I have up my sleeve, what I do is I leave the camera off. So the only thing that's on the screen is my name and my pronouns. Because most of the time, I'm talking to people who are about half, or they're the age of my kids. Like my kids are 20 and 25. I mean, that's who I'm talking to most of the time. Mm-hmm. And I've found that it is probably a distinct disadvantage for people to know that they're talking to some old white guy. So instead, I just put Rob Reinhart, who is the contact that they know of for this show. That's the host. Okay, fine. And then I put my pronouns.
Okay.
This guy did not like that. He did not like the fact that I did not have the camera on because he couldn't see who I was. He's been doing interviews for a long time.
Yeah.
And he gave me, can we swear on this?
Of course
Sure,
we can.
Of course we can.
Of
He
course.
gave me the biggest fuck you. He just said, well, I could answer that, but I don't really know how to answer it because I can't see you, so I don't know how old you are. And, so I'm just going to have to kind of give you an answer. And then he decided to not take any more questions. I had him for 30 minutes. He decided to not take any more questions and simply talk for 28 of those 30 minutes. Wow. He just talked. And I would try to get a question in, and he would just... He just would roll over it.
Roll over you, yeah.
And then at a certain point, he was like, people are really into their identity these days. Their identity, their pronouns. They really like that. That's like what they're into these days. And I'm thinking, it's because the only thing he can see about me is
your
name
pronouns.
and my pronouns. Yeah. This guy really doesn't like me. So I kind of gave up on trying to. I did get one question in, and I said, well, at this long career, and you've done so many different projects and so many different genres, and blah blah blah. His answer started with, well, you know what? The two words I never use about my music is project and genre. I went, okay, this is over. This is just over. I looked at the clock and I'm like, yeah, just let him talk another 2.5 minutes. We're out of this. And then I said, well, listen.
It's been great.
Thank you so much for the time. And suddenly he was like, oh yeah, that was terrific. Thanks for having me on the show. And I was like,
wow.
So at least your play out was good.
Yeah, play out was good, but this will never air. It's sitting on this
Elton
computer.
John, isn't it?
It is
John.
not. It is not. This will never air. And
despite your lack of success with this one opponent, I think the general technique of turning the camera off might be pretty good. I'm going to try that with Kelly next time, so she has no idea who I am.
So I have no idea.
We're going to do a show where she just has to talk to my pronouns.
I don't know what he looks like. I don't know what he looks like. I have no idea.
She's going to presume that I'm youthful and charming because of all the references I make that date me to post 2000.
This dude's so young. I don't even know if he's going to understand what I'm going to ask him in this show.
I was zooming on my TikTok the other day.
Oh, that's my other secret.
Is TikTok?
No.
Okay, I was going to be like,
not. I was kidding.
You have a TikTok?
That was a very funny line, though, James. That was a very funny line.
He has his moments. James, I have to give it to him. He does have his moments. Most of the time.
That's
of
what
them
you
here.
say about someone with Alzheimer's. I have more than moments, sir. I'm
he
here
has
all
good
the
days.
time.
He's got good days. There are good days.
He has
Good days.
Today's a good
James
day.
is having one of his.
That's
he's
why
having one of his days.
That's why we
today.
record these on Monday nights, because that's usually when he's most relaxed before the medication gets out of his system.
Right. He's been to church and he's kind of loosened
feeling
up.
clean. Feeling
He's
clean.
got a whole work week ahead of him to sort of look forward to, something to think about.
funny.
Folks who
That
are
is
dirty,
funny.
very dirty dozens, you have been listening and enjoying the conversations and the art of Mr. Rob Reinhart. I worked with Rob. If you, I was going to say, if you didn't catch the beginning of the show, why are you starting a podcast mid-show?
If you've just joined us, learn to use technology.
Yeah, way to do it. Rob hosts a show, Acoustic Cafe. You can find it at acafe.com where it's streaming there. Check your local radio station. Are you here in the West? Are you here in the Seattle area? Are you broadcasting?
Somewhere suburban, but not on a big fat radio station like you used to work at.
Yeah, I
It's on
tried.
it's on the internet.
I
It's on
tried.
the .coms.
It's on
And
the
it's always on
.coms.
.coms.
Yeah,
Yep.
you can stream it off there. Rob, can people reach out to you if they have questions? If they want to, can they? Can
They
they
have
talk
to.
you?
No, of course they can. Yeah, Rob at acafe.com.
Okay, excellent.
And
Tax-
on
so-
Facebook and Instagram.
Great.
You'll find it
So,
everywhere.
aside from music, tax advice to these people if they reach out? Anything?
Listen, I will give advice on just about anything.
That's amazing.
And that is up to you whether you want to follow it. But
That's amazing.
I'm starting an advice show of my own, and I would like some advice on advice.
we
Is it
used
possible
to
to do meta advice?
We used
and
to do
I'll-
that.
Kelly and I used to
Yeah.
do that. We used to do an Answer Man thing. It was Answer Man.
was
And people
Answer
would just call up every Friday, Answer Man, and then people would ask these ridiculous questions.
Yep.
That was so much
We've wanted to do that as a segment on our show, but we can't get any of our listeners to respond.
To respond. That's the thing.
right. Yeah.
Nobody writes. Nobody does any comments. We're like, please give us a topic. Talk to us. Let us know what
It's
we
going
can
to be
talk
the
about.
same damn show every week until somebody starts talking to us.
Well, yeah. So you got the problem is you don't have a live interaction with them.
No,
That's
it's
the
not
problem.
live. No, it's not. So, but it is recorded for posterity. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And nobody leaves comments.
Nobody leaves comments. But you know what?
Leave a goddamn comment. What is the matter with you people? You're watching this? Hello? You got a comment?
I am watching, however, the downloads go up for each show. So we are reaching an audience slowly but surely. So I really appreciate that. So that's why, because we're not quite sure how many numbers we have. We do call them the dozens. We have the dozens. Those are our listeners.
Good.
And
That's good.
the people who join our Patreon, we have 3 Patreon members, which is great. We call them our baker's dozen. So they're part of the Dirty Dozens as well.
Do you want me to pitch for that Patreon? I mean, because I can give you an impassioned pitch as to why people should support this program.
You know what?
Yes. We'll use it as a bumper on every show.
Yep. There you go.
The stage is yours.
I'll record a pitch. No, I'm not doing it now.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
No, off the cuff. Come on.
You don't have
Let me tell you
don't even
why
have a
you should
tote
record a
bag.
pitch right now. It's important.
You have the moment right now. This moment will never happen again. Rob, the stage is yours. I'm kidding.
Podcasts. Okay. See, I was about to
That
go.
stage
I know.
blew
You
up
wanna-
quick.
Listen, all right, yeah. I could go on. But I'm not going to. Because
I could go on.
We got to go to bed.
I could go on. Yeah.
Oh, go on. Folks, thank you so much for joining us today. We know your time is precious, and I appreciate, and we all appreciate you affording that precious time to us. It's always very exciting. What do I always say at the end of the show, James? Be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your family, your friends, your community, your neighbors. We are all going through it. Rob Reinhart, thank you so much for joining us on... I just forgot the name of the show. Our show. James does the outro on it. I was going to say thank you so much for joining us on KMTT, but it's not. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure.
She has her good days.
Yeah, I do. I have my good days. Anyway, thank you again, Rob, for joining us. Really appreciate connecting. Folks, my name is Kelly Wright.
And I'm James Ernest, and we're here all week.